Hey there, what's up, guys? Good to be back with you again. And don't look now, but it is youth intake time. So I actually just recorded a video and it didn't work so well because I had the wrong microphone setting on. A lot of weird things happening here tonight, as you can see. Here in game, we've reached January 9th, 2023. So you're aware, it's taken me like all day to get to this point. We still have not entered officially the OFC Champions League. We don't know what our schedule looks like. And so when I go look over here at the schedule, is still last season's schedule. Nothing has happened. It's been a lot of me hitting continue and absolutely nothing coming in, including like no messages, until we got this one. PanSa announced new intake of youth players. Our annual youth candidate intake has arrived for assessment. This is a wonderfully talented group of players, and led by Mark Samueleu, we have the makings of a potential golden generation on our hands. The youth candidates have been given trial contracts so you can evaluate which players you want to offer full youth contracts to. And then there's a trial match afterwards. We're not going to care about the trial match because we're going to offer contracts to everybody. You might wonder, why do that? Why not like actually take a look and see, oh, I want this player, I don't want that player? I'll tell you the reason why. First of all, when we look at the coach report, they're all going to say exciting young prospect way off first team level. I don't care about any of this stuff, even the stuff that's going to hurt the player. They're just going to come onto the team and go onto the youth team, right? It doesn't matter. So for Joe Collins, we'll offer him a contract. We agree to this. He'll be a youngster. And look, he's making zero. In other words, we would be absolutely insane not to offer contracts to every single one of these players, whether they're good or not, because they cost nothing. And we just stick them on the youth team and we like forget about them, right? It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if they're going to be a great player or a good player or a poor player or whatever's going to happen. All right. So if you're on an amateur club, that's the way that it is. If you're on a club that's professional, you might see different things happen. I mean, you probably already know this, assuming you play the game, but if you don't, it's going to be different depending upon the level that your club is at. But if you're on an amateur club, absolutely, when the youth intake comes in, sign everybody. I mean, you would be foolish not to. There's another cool thing that we can do here. So we're not going to look at any other country in the world. We'll only look here at American Samoa. Click up here, then click back here. We're going to take a quick look and see what happens. Wow, we've moved from 187th to 188th. I didn't know you could go that low. Good job, guys. We go over here to transfers. We can then take a look here at the youth intake for all teams. And if we want, we can go here, say to Pago Youth, and we can, let's see here, transfer and offer a trial to these, whatever it was, 7 players. I don't know if they're going to accept or not. Football Manager 2023 is kind of special in this sense because there's a lot of players like this who will refuse to come to your team. The reason for this is because Football Manager 2023 has made it so that players who are really young, 15, 16, 17, are much less likely to leave their team. Even if you're Manchester City, even if you're Uncle Moneybags, even if, like, you know, it would be obvious in real life that this would happen, they make it so that they're a little bit less likely to go do that. Keep that in mind. I mean, these players will not necessarily want to come straight to your team right away. They might not even want to do the trial. You can still scout them if they look good, but they're just not willing to sign. You can keep them on your short list so that later on in like 2 years when they're 18 and they're willing to sign, you can get them right away. That's kind of your strategy for success. I recommend going here again into the World tab and then going to whatever your country is and looking at the other youth intake for the other teams, no matter what. I really strongly recommend doing this because you can get an idea of players that you might want to sign right after they're created. And sometimes you will still get lucky and you can have players willing to come over and join your team. If you are playing FM22 or before, any prior edition of this game, you'll find that this setup is overpowered and that you can get the best players, young players in the game, to come over to your squad, with a few exceptions. Like super like obvious wonder kids maybe will not be willing to go over, and even then it depends upon who your squad is, right? But for the most part, you'll be able to get a whole bunch of great deals in those games on these guys right after they're created, and then you get wonder kids that end up being superstars for you for like absolutely nothing right as soon as they're created. So keep that in mind and be on the lookout for that. And FM23 doesn't work quite as well, but it's still valuable to know who the good players are for when they are finally willing and grown up enough to go move on to a different team. That's sort of my advice there. That's something you can do if you have a poor youth intake and you want to supplement it with some good players. In our case, we have, it looks like a really good youth intake. I mean, we're never going to know, right? Because I don't have any star ratings on. So, I mean, this doesn't really mean that much. We can go over here to reports. We could cheat and like put our mouse over here, right? Not suitable for the senior team. Apparently, this guy's not that good, and his potential is a superb rating for the senior team. So, I mean, whatever. He probably has like 1 star and then potential of like 4 to 5 stars or something like that. I mean, okay, whatever. That doesn't tell me much more than what this overall coach report says anyway. We're not going to put him in the team right at the beginning, but he does have a good personality and he can get in for, a little while. Now, another thing is that a lot of people will tell you about like the way to get a good youth intake. There's a lot of randomness that goes in here, but there are some things you can control. One of the easiest is to control who your head of youth development is. So let's see if it will actually show him to me. Now it does. I went and looked for the best personality guy I could find who would actually come to American Samoa or who was already here and who's willing to work for free because we have no money, and found this guy who has a spirited personality. That's the best I could do. That's one of your top 4 personalities, I think. Not quite up there with professional, model professional, model citizen, or perfectionist, but spirited. So it's not one of the 4, but it's right underneath, right? It's one of the, I think there are like 5 others that are just about as good. It's the sort of personality you want because you'll get a higher level of professionalism in your newly created players. Remember, it is professionalism and ambition and determination that you really want to focus on. Those are the things that will give you good young players. Anything that can help you get players that are like that is good. Other things you can change as well, right? So if you go over to, let's see, facilities for the club, we have poor youth facilities, right? You could get better youth facilities. You could get better youth recruitment as well. All of these would be things that would help. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to stay at PanSa FC that long. I mean, maybe another season. If it gets more than that, I'm going to be a little bit worried, right? Because we need to get the save moving on. So I'm not going to worry so much about this stuff at this level. Now, if we were playing for a team in like Fiji, or if we were in New Zealand and we were playing for a semi-pro or professional team, that's when I would be saying, okay, we need to improve this youth recruitment, improve youth facilities. We probably need to look at American Samoa and say, are there any good young players here we can snatch away, right? That's where the game really starts to change. But right now at this level, I'm not going to worry so much about this stuff. I mean, it's not like we have a whole ton of money here in the finances anyway, and I want to keep as much money as I can, as I possibly can, free, so I can get those coaching badges piled up. And that's kind of that overall strategy that you have here to Football Manager playing at this level. Sounds like the sort of something for another video, strategizing your Pentagon or Hexagon challenge save. As far as this is concerned, though, really, best thing you can do is find a good a head of youth development that has a personality that's passable. Don't even worry about the rest of the ratings. And if you're lucky, you'll get players with better personalities coming in, and there might be 1 or 2 who eventually, or who come in good enough to play for your senior squad, and then voila, you just got a free player without doing anything for him, and you're pretty good to go for the next little while. It'll be interesting to see what happens when we put these players into the under-18 squad, which still has a whole bunch of grayed-out players. That's not going to be the case anymore, because these guys will come on in and will supplement the team, and we'll see what happens. Now, I don't really care so much about how well this team plays, but if they play okay, I mean, that's not a bad thing, right? We like to have under-18 squad that can actually win some matches, and hopefully eventually we'll be able to pull some of those players over to the senior squad and do a good job with that. And there you have it. That's the way that you handle the golden generation intake of youth players when you're an amateur team. And there will be more after this. My plan tomorrow is probably to start off with a video that sums up our transfer season, because this has been a very, very long transfer window and transfer season, and it makes me very, very weary to sit here and wait for the game to advance to the next screen. Having high detail on like this really does make a difference, and makes me think that this computer is maybe a little bit too old to fully enjoy the power of Football Manager. There you have it. I will talk with you later. Bye-bye.